Hey, good afternoon, everybody. We're just going to wait a couple more minutes here before we get going, just to allow some people to jump on. Good afternoon, good morning, everybody. Welcome to ASI's, I guess, second installment of our webinars. Thank you for joining us. My name is Kevin Brandino. I'm the Director of Business Development here at ASI Engineering. A little bit about ASI. We are a multidisciplinary firm specializing in asset management, infrastructure planning, and engineered solutions for municipalities across Western Canada. We have a Q&A running, so feel free to submit your questions there. I'll be monitoring them and passing them along throughout the webinar, and we'll have a question period at the end. And of course, feel free to reach out to me after the webinar with any questions you may have. I'm really pleased to introduce today's speaker, Darren Wiebe. He is our founder and principal engineer. Darren brings over 20 years of experience leading complex infrastructure projects with a focus on strategic planning, life cycle analysis, and practical solutions that work for communities and organizations. So without further ado, I'll pass it over to Darren. And thank you all very much for joining us.
Good, thanks, Kevin. You can hear me okay and see the slide? Kevin, you can hear me okay and see the slide?
Yeah, you're good to go, buddy.
Perfect, sounds really good. Thanks everyone for joining. Your time's really valuable, and this webinar has been put together to really add value to your job and to your asset management journey that you're on. There's a lot of good content that you're going to be hearing in the next little while. My name is Darren, the owner and principal engineer of ASI Engineering, and just thrilled to be able to share some stories and experience about building an asset management roadmap. This is our second series. We run these every quarter. Our next one's in fall. This is our summer edition. This one's called Building an Asset Management Roadmap. What you're going to learn is the importance of asset management, how to build a roadmap, a practical guide to it. We're going to talk a lot about building a roadmap and then implementing a roadmap. I'm going to go back and forth between how to build a roadmap, how to implement that phase of the roadmap, and give a lot of real world examples, a lot of practical experiences, kind of how to actually do it. You're going to hear a lot of good, see a lot of good information on what this stuff all means. Kevin mentioned there's a question and answer posting area at the end. We'll provide some answers to questions that get posted. You can expect about 40 minutes, both 35 to 40 minutes of this webinar. I'll be talking that entire time, and then we'll be transitioning to the questions and answers after. We have a large audience on all across Canada. We have different organizations with different types of assets. So like there's municipal, there's utilities, there's all, from buildings to roads to power line structures, all different types of assets. There's areas of this webinar, this roadmap building session where it may not apply to you. So, take with you what applies and leave what doesn't. With such a general audience and types of assets, there's areas where you might not feel like certain things are relevant, and that's perfectly okay. This is all about asset management, right? No, not one size fits all. This isn't an off-the-shelf kind of a presentation where you're going to get general information. This is going to be some practical good stuff. With that said, it's messy, right? Like asset management, it's not easy. It's for the strong-willed people. There's not a necessary an order to follow that is going to work. Like in theory, there's an order, and I'm going to be going through today the order that could be done. But I want you to really take note that you might be at different phases or stages or areas or steps that don't follow along really well with how this roadmap looks, and that's perfectly okay. Like that's normal. You want to really just be you want to be doing asset management. You don't want to wait to follow the right steps necessarily in order all the time. It's really important that you're doing asset management, that you're putting in effort wherever that effort is. So the roadmap today it's a bit of, if you're just starting asset management, if your organization hasn't started yet and you're just like, for the first time, this is a good order to follow. If you've been doing asset management for 10 years, oh yeah, you're going to be in different phases of it and whatnot. So that's good. That's okay. Again, take from this what you think applies the most, and maybe leave what doesn't. Here's an overview of it. I'm going to talk just a little bit about who we are, and then we're going to get into this whole thing on the roadmap and what it is and why it's important. Then we're going to get into building it, and I'm going to be going through a lot of real-world examples of each of the steps. I've broken it down or out into 3 phases, as you see on the screen there. Each phase is 4 steps. So there's going to be essentially a 12-step plan on building a roadmap, and then we're going to talk about implementing the roadmap. Just a little bit about ASI. So ASI is Asset Strategy Incorporated. We're asset management practitioners. We do asset management. We also teach asset management, and we're very involved in organizations to really help people where they are. Our infrastructure is at a point where in Canada where there's so much that's needed to do, from inspections, from maintenance, from life extension, from to replacement, and where do you start? It's definitely complex, and how do you make sure that funding is properly allocated to the high risk assets, and on and on and on. So we help asset managers or representatives and organizations. We help them out where they're at with developing plans, with asset management. We do that through helping them with condition assessments. So we're an engineering group, but we're all about reality. We're all about getting to site, looking at the infrastructure, building real plans out of the current condition of assets. And so we do that. That's how we develop asset management plans, is collecting real data. And we're mostly focused in Western Canada, but definitely are very open to anybody in Eastern Canada from a reach out perspective after this webinar. We're infrastructure experts is what we are. I used to be the director of asset management for the government of Saskatchewan. I'm used to large organizations. I'm used to the complexities that comes from different departments, and the budgeting cycle, and what to do with the people side of asset management, and how to navigate the change management and all of that. I saw a big opportunity in maybe the lack of expertise in asset management across Canada and across North America, and decided to jump out of a comfortable job to an area where I could help people more, and I could have a broader outreach, and I could really put a dent into Canada's aging infrastructure issue. And that's where we are today. We're actively working, helping people across a number of provinces, and it's really exciting. We're an engineering group, but we're all about the field. We've got technologists, field inspectors, collaborating closely with our engineers. So we're really a hands-on type of a team. We work with all types of assets, everything across the board, every type of physical asset, natural assets, everything like that. Okay, let's get into a asset management roadmap, what it is, why it's important. There's a lot of things to talk about here about why build one, but I like to explain it. It's a communication tool for to form a business case. Like that's one good aspect of it. You need to demonstrate that you have a plan, and to secure funding to actually get work done, like you have to have a plan, right? So build a roadmap, and a roadmap's just another word for a plan. And you need to, have a set of steps and what you're going to logically do, and be able to, know what you have, know your financial situation, and help decision makers make their decisions. Give them that information. There's nothing better than showing them a plan, or through a roadmap. It also gives everybody an action plan to work off of, right? You have staff, you have other departments. It demonstrates logical thinking, and allows other people to work off of it. You can tie, goals to it. You can tie, your staff performance goals to your roadmap. Like it's a great tool to use, and it allows you to get down, get to the money, get to how to prioritize your budgets, making sure that you're addressing, the higher risk or the components of your assets that to prevent failure, to ensure that there's safety, that reliability. It's asset management at its core, having a good plan. Where it fits. Mentioned before that asset management is messy, and that's because it's usually started fairly ad hoc versus a perfect structure, and that's okay. And in theory, if you were to follow, start asset management from day one, and in a new organization maybe, and there was a logical flow or a set of steps, that's what's presented here. In ISO standards and other international best practices, this is what they'll tell you. They'll tell you to first with your organization's strategic plan. So if you're a municipality, that's your official community plan. If you're other types of asset owning organizations, that's the goals of your organization, that you got to start there, and then from there you have to build an asset management policy that aligns with those goals of your organization. And from that policy, those are your guiding principles. Then you have to build out a strategy, an asset management strategy that outlines how to accomplish those principles. And from there, you need to map it out. And mapping it out is the who, what, where, when, why, how. It's building out a practical plan with your roadmap, and that's where we're at today. Is that practical side of asset management. What's an asset management roadmap? It's a tool with steps. It's a structured and practical guide. It's these things I've mentioned. How long does it take to build one? If you called ASI and you wanted to build a roadmap, I'd probably come back to you and ask you some questions, and there are probably a lot of questions about types of assets you have and where they're located, and what's the complexity of the system and things like that. Because the more you have and the more complex it is, the maybe a little bit longer it takes to build out a roadmap. But on average, I would probably suggest something like 2 to 3 months to build out a roadmap, because you want to get into the details, but you want to move this forward as well. You don't want to take years to build out a roadmap. You want to get done so you can implement it. And it's the implementation of the roadmap that's going to take some time, and it's actually never done, right? So you're never done improving, you're never done managing your assets. It's cyclical. From inspections, maintenance, renewals, replacements, it's cyclical, meaning it happens every year. It's ongoing, and implementing your roadmap, it's ongoing, and you're going to continue to implement it over the years. So you build it, and then it's a plan, but as plans are, they're flexible, and you need to, maybe adjust your road plan, your roadmap, and over the years, of course, and continue to evolve it and improve it. Sources for this webinar, there's a lot of sources out there. I've pulled a lot of them together. There's frameworks from ISO, Institute of Asset Management, GFMAM. There's other organizations like PMAC, AMBC, CNAM. There's the the International Infrastructure Maintenance Manual, IIMM. Though that's a very good technical document. The other ones above, they're more general. And then a lot of this is really pulled from our experiences, right? There's a lot of theoretical literature out there on how to do this type of stuff, and that's great. It's frameworks is what it is. It's a starting point. That's great, but then there's actually doing the work, and that's mostly what I'm trying to demonstrate today through this webinar is like how to actually do it. So I pulled a lot of those frameworks together. I slapped a lot of my experience on it, and pulled together this set of slides to help you understand what to do and how to do it. Okay, I mentioned earlier, I broke it into 3 phases and 12 steps. Here they are. Phase 1's assess and plan. Phase 2 is building the foundation, and phase 3 is to implement and improve. Each has 4 steps. So to assess and plan, you look at your current state of your assets, you establish your asset management team. You do requirements gathering, and then you do goal setting. Onto there, you get an asset standardization plan, inspection and maintenance SOPs, implement technology, training and awareness, and then you go into life cycle management, budget process improvements, condition assessments, and maintenance renewal programs. I'm going to go through each one of those. Again, I want to repeat that you don't have to follow this exactly in an order. You're going to see things like, oh, we implemented a software already. We're on step 7 already. It's like, yeah, but you might not have done step 6 and 5, these don't have to go in order. Let me just make that very, very clear. And then there's 2 different things between building a roadmap and implementing a roadmap, right? So building a roadmap, it's building a plan. And then actioning out that plan is actually what's more important. And take that away if nothing else. Like you need to do. Asset management is about action. It's about doing things. It's about maintaining your assets. It's about ensuring that your budgets are sufficient to do the maintenance that's needed for your infrastructure to get as much service life as you can out of it. And building a plan is great, but if it's a PDF that sits on the shelf, don't waste your time. Like you have to action it out, you have to implement it, and it's just the most important part. Okay, phase 1. So assess and plan. What's your current state of your assets? That's what you have to do first. You have to, and again, I say first because I'm going to go through the steps in order, but that's how I'll talk. But take that with a grain of salt as we talk about. You can do these at different times. Assess the current state of your assets. So you get everything together, right? Get your current practices, your processes, your systems, your data. Get it into a master list. You interview your subject matter experts. They're the ones that probably know the most. The history, things like that. Get all of your information into one space essentially, so that you are informed about what you have and where it is, what condition it's in. Get all that centralized. Like get all that together. I was in a meeting last week with an organization, and they have less than 12 buildings, but they didn't even know how many they had. It was kind of like they think they had 11, but maybe 12. But they built one recently, and maybe there's another one. People don't even know how many assets that they're responsible for, right? And it's a very small number of assets, is 10 to 12 buildings. There's some of you on the webinar have giant portfolios, tens of thousands of assets. So get to know your assets. If you want to talk informed, be an informed individual and build trust and confidence in other people, get to know your assets really well. Get access to having them in kind of a one congregated spot so that you can access them. Here's a project that we did with a client of ours where they had asset information everywhere. There was 15 plus spreadsheets and databases with information about the same asset. That's a problem because you're looking for information and you don't even know where to trust. What's the right source? So our project was to build a master data base of all of their assets, but into one spreadsheet, into one database. From there, of course, to look at also prioritizing what needs to get done first and what needs to be inspected, and maintained first, right? And when you put everything into one location, then you have that ability to be very aware of duplicate assets and like when was the last time this was inspected and what condition do we think it's in, and all of a sudden you're going to find gaps in your data. That's good. You're finding problems. Problems are good because now you can solve them, and that's what this does. It allows you to really like become an informed asset owner, an asset manager. And so take a look at this in your own worlds. If you have multiple sources of the same data, you're probably going to find gaps and issues and like mistakes from one database to another. So that's I'm really trying to get across here. You want to have a clean asset list. You want to take the effort that it takes to clean up your asset information so that you're dealing with some current asset information. You're not going off of false data or information. Asset managers lose credibility when you don't have the right information at your fingertips. Like you're the brain sometimes of your organization. So make sure your information is accurate and clean and together into one spot so you can talk intelligently about the assets that you're responsible for. The second step I'm going to share here is establish your asset management team. You're already the asset management champion, I'm assuming, especially if you are attending this webinar. You really care about asset management. You're probably the champion, so you need a team now, right? You need at least a small team. Don't do it alone because you're not going to get far. You're going to think you are, but you're going to realize that you need to have a team to go far, right? So build that team. So asset management is everyone's responsibility in the organization, for one. So everyone's working at a different part of an asset or asset life cycle, and they don't even realize that they are, but they are. So an organization is responsible, and all the representatives are responsible for the assets. And what you want to do is find a champion from each of those departments or working areas. You want someone or ones from operations, maintenance, finance, and all these other departments, and you want to find your champions, and you want to get a little bit of a team together, and you want to take that information that you just pulled together from your asset inventory, and you want to talk about the gaps and things like that. Like you want to, would be the second step after you get your asset information together, is you go through it with people and you look for the gaps and you collaborate together and you form a little bit of a team, because you're going to have that team. So sometimes they're called steering committees, where there's decision making, authority that's given to these individuals, and that's good. But what you want to definitely have is a little bit of a team as you're implementing out your roadmap. There's nothing more important is that you're doing this in a team fashion. And so it's sometimes hard internally in your organizations to find these champions, to get all of these different departments and people talking. So ASI has been, we've been engaged in a number of projects where we'll be that intermediary group that pulls other people together. It's sometimes nice when you have a consultant who's coming in to do asset management for your organization. It kind of forces people to come together, and there's like a planned meeting. But you can do things like this yourself, of course, as well. It can just sometimes be a little more challenging, especially in big organizations where you have thousands of employees. And this is what we do. So this is where we help out. One of the ways, of course, is we get the right, we get people in the room, and then we talk asset management and talk about this roadmap. So you have a list of your assets in your inventory already, you have that information, and now you're getting the working groups together and you're saying, okay, let's talk processes, let's talk workflows, let's talk how information is shared, let's talk what information and databases you have that I don't know about, and let's talk about the gaps, and let's talk about the problems. Because you get rooms like in the picture together, like you get 30 people or 20 people talking about asset management. Oh man, it gets lively. Because all of a sudden you're just like, yeah, but it doesn't work like that. Someone starts saying, and it's like, oh, you get some real good conversations, and all of a sudden you find like sometimes like problems that can be overcome through communication. And we all get it. It's all about, people and communication. Like our jobs, our world doesn't exist without it. So we need to be talking, and we need to make sure that you have a team that's really like working on this collaboratively, and having, pulling them together, it would be the second step, and establishing a champion from each of these departments, so that when you're building out or implementing out this roadmap, that you can continue to go back to this group, and you can maybe come together every month or every 2 months or every quarter or something like that, and you're meeting to talk about where you're at and where you're going, and how, and assigning tasks and responsibilities to these members within the group. It's a really important part of implementing asset management, is you get a team together. Please write that down. Step 3 is requirements gathering. So this is often done through that workshop. Is okay, what do we need? Often it's a tool, it's a technology, it's a software, it's something like that. Often it's a person. We just don't have a leader in this area. We're understaffed. It's often money. You don't have the budget to do something. These are requirements to implement asset management. So you need to go through your needs list with this team, and it's so often processes as well. There's broken processes and things like that. So go through some requirements gathering. So determine what requirements you need for your organization to be more effective and efficient. A project we did for a software. This is like, okay, it's like it was determined a centralized database is what you need, because, well, it's fragmented, right? Everyone's using a different spreadsheet to manage things, and like, his doesn't match hers, and like, of course, like everyone's organization is started like that, right? So a centralized database is a very good tool, and there's a lot of commercial off-the-shelf databases that companies have built great tools out there that you can leverage. You want one, you need one. You have to get there, right? So to get there, you need to figure out what you need, right? So what we did is we helped them to go through things like, hey, you want an asset register. So you have a nice online, cloud-based database with all your assets. Okay, so do you want condition in there? Do you want this to be a maintenance planning tool? Do you want work orders in here? Do you want to use this for capital planning and project prioritization? You go through your requirements, your technical requirements of your software, so that you get to learn, like, okay, well, if we did this for work order management, assigning work orders to staff, how is that going to change our workflows? And is it going to improve things? And what kind of training do we need? And like all of that is good requirements. Like those are good conversations to have. That's good planning. So there's a project where we did that. The next step is goal setting. So from your inventory, your team, your requirements list. Now you gotta set some goals, right? So as normal as this is for me, I learned that not everyone's a goal setter. So this is a really good thing with asset management, with people who are responsible for budgets, for people who want to improve things in life. Set some goals. Set some time-bound goals, right? So at the end of 3 months, at the end of 6 months, at the end of 12 or 18 or 24 months, what are our goals with asset management? Write them down. Talk them through with your team. Do the SMART acronym. Make sure that they're achievable and relevant and time bound and all that stuff. But set some goals. That's how you achieve your progress in life. Is you set your goals and you work towards it, right? And you don't have to be perfect. You have to try though, and you have to set some goals. And think big, dream big. Like where do you want asset management to be in 2 years and 5 years and 10 years? It's so important. Set some goals for it. Here's a project we did. We set the KPI goals for a post-secondary institution with respect to their facilities, their buildings. They had some really good, exciting goals that they wanted to accomplish in the next 5 to 10 years. And to get there, they had to, you have to set KPIs. You have to say, okay, here's where we're at now, first of all, and then here's where we want to get. And then how long is it going to take, and then you have those conversations and you negotiate with your team of how long it's going to take to accomplish these goals. And then when you're meeting every month or quarter with your team, you can look at your actuals versus your actual progress versus the goals that you set out, and you can adjust things, of course. But if you don't have a goal, you're not able to measure your progress that you're making, and you're just being less effective, and you don't sometimes even know if you're being effective or efficient if you don't have a goal and you're not um, revisiting it on a frequent basis. So uh, that's a step forward. Let's recap phase one. So phase one's assess and plan. We went through 4 steps. Assess the current state of your assets. So know your assets and get organized. Establish your asset management team. Get your team of asset management champions together. Requirements gathering. Determine the tools, processes, people, budgets you need to be effective and efficient. And set your goals. Create your plan with measurable goals. Now let's talk about building the foundation. Okay, the first step here of building the foundation is a data standard. So get a written data standard for your asset naming conventions. How you name assets, ID assets, classify asset information and its attribute data. Something that can be used as a standard across all new and existing assets that you have, and work with the other departments, right? So typically accounting will have a different like naming convention for assets than like operations and engineering, and that used to be okay, but let's improve that, and let's try to standardize the way we name and classify assets across the organization. As you mature more in an asset management organization, you definitely want assets to be um, easy to identify, and you want to be able to communicate as easy as an asset ID. So like if it's accounting or engineering or operations or asset or any other department, like your asset IDs need to be matching. So when you're talking about a certain asset ID over here with this department, it's the same asset ID, as another department. Often you'll see finance and accounting have their own system, and everyone's like, "Oh, that's finances and accountings. We're not gonna change that for them because that's." I'm going to start getting sarcastic here because it's like you need to change that with them, not for them, with them. You got to bring them into asset management. If you caught what I said earlier, I said um, asset management's everyone's responsibility. Don't let people off the hook in the sense that they don't need to follow an asset management data standard. Like it's really important that they do. So let's start naming things standard across the company. And it's a work in progress, but the first thing, you got to work as a team, always 100%, and you got to get a written data standard, and then you have to clean or cleanse your data set, and you need to name things appropriately. Update every existing asset to its new standard. Here's an example we did for a municipality where we drew up an asset ID standard. So here's how you classify, name an asset, and here's the rules for it, and here's the hierarchical structure of how this subcomponent of this asset, is tagged to this asset. And this is all very, very helpful, especially as you move into your database and your information storage location is that information it rolls up to a certain asset or asset class, rolls up to a department responsible for the assets. This is as you grow, as organizations change, this is very very important. New people that come into organizations, like the whole like the reason this stuff's so important is like it's not about you, right? It's about your organization. It's not about like the way one person does something. It's all about sustainability, right? It's about making sure that over the next 10, 20, 30 years and beyond, that there's consistency, that there's the right decisions being made, that information can actually be found in the future. And if everything's named differently, if there's no standard, if information's stored in the wrong spots, like information can't be found easily, right? Like a new person coming into an organization is lost, right? But if they have a centralized database that has a naming convention standard, all of a sudden their learning curve is like days compared to 6 months to a year on like where to find information. Like you're becoming efficient and effective in an organization when you move towards standardizing. uh, Especially data asset management, data standard goes without saying. uh, next step is inspection and maintenance, SOPs. So from your condition assessments to the maintenance and capital renewals and all of the physical work that happens on a to the assets, you want to standardize as much as you can, especially when it comes to how you're classifying condition ratings and performing maintenance to different assets. So when you have a lot of the same assets, like say roads or buildings or something like that, you can definitely work towards having a standard for how you're classifying inspection findings and assessment records and essentially build a standard operating procedure so that whether it's going to an internal department to do inspections and maintenance or it's going to an external provider, you have your own standard to follow, right? So you don't know how many RFPs that I personally bid on, like ASI bids on that people out there, like organizations out there, they don't have a standard for how they want inspection data to be collected, and they actually ask the the consultant to provide a standard, and that's fine. It's like the consultant's the expert. Yeah, that's the reason. Like, so the consultant will provide a very good standard, but then the next inspection they'll have done, they'll ask the consultant again to provide another standard for how they classify information. And it's kind of backwards, right? So the asset owning organization has to be competent with its own inspection standards and maintenance standards, and then when they're asking other people, whether it's internal or external, to collect information and to bring it back to them to make decisions with, it's standardized so that it falls into the database properly, and then you can make decisions with that information. Like you can compare year after year after year after year of different inspection data, and you can actually assess the trend of how over time the deterioration of an asset's happening. And if you don't have a standard to follow, and it's a different one, or um, over the years, it's just a bit more of a mess, right? And it's harder to really make good decisions off of long term. And like I just want to really imply here that like this is again, I just said this 2 slides ago, but it's about sustainability for your organization, and making sure that when staff retire, there's new staff come in or people move on, that we're bringing them into a system, not into the way that John, Dave, or Chris does it. You know what I mean? Because so many organizations are how John, Dave, and Chris did it for 20 years, right? And just pick a name. Like I'm not picking on anybody. Like pick a name. Like so many organizations I work for have a way of doing things because the way somebody had done it for 20 years, and that's great. At least there's somebody who really tried, and they stuck around and they built a system. That's good. Okay, but like going forward, we want a standardized system so that other people, can come in and out of, and that's okay because the system will last beyond the length of employment for an administrator or an engineer or a council. To have these standards is a good thing. You want to work on these. So here just an example of a road condition standard and some maintenance frequency standards that we do with our clients. We do all types of this. It's hard to get some of this stuff done in house, and that's why that's what ASI provides, is that support for all of these steps, and other consultants do as well, so that you can move forward with some of these projects that provide a lot of benefits. The next one is implementing technology. Just to recap, we just did 2 standards, right? We talked a lot about implementing a written data standard, and we talked about inspection and maintenance SOPs. So now we have a consistent way of doing things. Now we bring a technology in that allows everything to be centralized and stored into one spot. You have a lot of old inspection records and paper copies of things. You have spreadsheets of data over the years. All of that you want to end up retiring, or migrating, we'll say is a better term, into your new software, into a centralized database system. And you want to consider the integration of this system with other systems that you have already, because don't ever think like there's a one size fits all for things. Like, this is the real world, right? So you'll probably have a different software somewhere for something else, whether it's for accounting or maintenance or something. So look for systems that can integrate. And in 2025 here and beyond, integration of software is a key focus for software companies. They know that people have existing software already, and they want to build their systems that integrate really well and they communicate well. And I'll go back to that asset ID standard. So when you have a data standard, and you're say you're integrating your asset management software with your financial system, and now both systems have the same asset ID for the same asset, and your systems can integrate really well, right? Because you can match up that asset ID, and now you can share information back and forth between these softwares. And that's why having that asset ID standard is so important. Having a centralized database goes without thinking. You work towards this if you don't have it now, but you need a tool. Tools make our jobs and lives easier. And this is the asset management. This is the hammer for asset management. Like, you can't build much without having a really good database. So definitely, this is a focus of your roadmap, is to have a database where everything is stored. And these tools, they're pretty impressive. There's a lot of information that they have available at your fingertips. You can have all of the maintenance history and cost information and all that life cycle, that good stuff. You can have a file repository, so you can pull up like PDFs, pictures, and old files that maybe you scanned and saved, and you put maps and things like that you can put into the asset. Lots of good information. A lot of these have integration with invoicing systems. When you pay bills against something, you can track costs and things like that. Or internal hours to do maintenance, things like that. So you can roll up your expenses against those assets, and run some nice reports that you can show how much investment you're putting into assets. These tools, go without saying. It's going from the old checkbook to online banking, right? It's a no-brainer. The next step is training and awareness. Okay, so Step 2 was getting your team together. Step 8 here is this is going broader than just your champions. This is delivering training programs to really as many people as you can that are affected by asset management and the decisions that are made through asset management. So you need the organization on board. So I like to draw comparisons of this to like safety programs and things like that. Like, safety is incredibly important, and typically everybody in an organization is required to take the safety training courses because it applies to everybody. And I like to draw a parallel with that to asset management. Like, it's so important for everybody's job. They just don't know that it necessarily is. So you want to get into training and awareness within your organization after you've established those other steps in general, so that you come with a very organized front, and you have a software that backs it up. You've got a data standard, and you've got inspection and maintenance standards. You've got an asset management team to support all the people that have questions about how this applies to their job and things like that. But you definitely need to also include training and awareness for a lot of people beyond just like the key people, the key 4-8 people that you put your team together. You wanna like, I work with so many municipalities, and here's so much about council members and the maybe the lack of expertise they have with infrastructure, but they're making decisions for infrastructure. Well, take ownership of that. And what I mean is that, they need training, right? Like get some training ready for them, and deliver it to them, or bring in someone to train them, or there's improvements that can be made, right? And a lot of times it's just like, oh, there's frustration with people often because they just don't understand about why impacts them or why it's effective. And it's just a lack of, it's a lack of training, it's a lack of awareness. And there's no one that's free from dealing with asset management. It affects everybody, and if you don't think it does, you're just not aware yet. So this is your training session to become aware that, like, everybody in the organization has a piece to play, and you do want to be broad in the sense, like I explained it to like this, like safety essentially. I'm just doing a time check. I suppose we ran through the time pretty quick, so I'm gonna rush in the next 5-10 minutes here to finish up. I'm just recapping phase 2: standardize information, inspection and maintenance SOPs, technology solutions, and training and awareness. Let's go on to implement and improve, and try to use some of this time here. So life cycle management, this is looking over the whole life cycle of your assets and building a plan that is that has a life cycle approach to it. So here's an example we did of building a life cycle management plan for a utility, and it's a plan that maps out for an asset. It's essentially the manual. So it's like like in the glove box of your car, there's a maintenance manual, and if you open that up, you look at the back, there's there's an instruction, essentially how often you do oil changes and transmission flushes and tire rotations and things like that. And that's what you want for each of your assets. You want to have a model that allows people to be able to follow, and essentially you can also use these as tools with working to secure budgets well in advance. Because if you know that there's renewals needed at a certain year, maintenance needed at a certain year, you're able to provide more better justification if this is the engineered life cycle management plan for this asset. Step 10, budgeting process. So a lot of organizations we work with, they approve budgets after the fiscal year's already started, which is not correct. It's strange, actually, and it needs to be redrawn so that we're not approving budgets after fiscal years have already started, and we're just re-looking at that. And sometimes there's there may be an excuse that, like, oh, we have to wait till all of our numbers come in before we can budget. And it's like, that's not true at all. You don't have to, like, you're never going to get asset management right if you're waiting for all the perfect data to come in to make decisions on your assets. Same with the budgeting process. You have to have a good idea of how much revenue that's coming in at the end of the year to make decisions for next year and how you're spending it. But you don't have to be perfect. You have to have definitely a level of accuracy, but you definitely want to get into a budgeting cycle that approves your budget for next year, a good 2 to 3 months before, so that you can initiate procurements, you can initiate RFPs, you can get going on putting plans in place earlier, because you need to open up the execution windows. Sometimes we tighten those windows, like construction and things like that, when uh, when they're the most important part. They're the part of the project that costs the most, right? And the most difficult part of the project. And we sometimes squeeze those parts of the project because we take like all these extra months for the budgeting cycle. So consider looking at your budgeting cycle and altering it and changing it. That's what we're doing right now with some municipalities. We're kind of redrawing it up from scratch, and it's like, here's when we should be doing certain things in certain months. We built in like monthly meetings for their budgeting, so that they're looking more at the revenues and the forecasting, and they're treating, you know, the money side of asset management a little bit more serious. The next step's condition assessments. So this is getting into the mature, your asset management system's kind of, you know, roadmap is more built now, and now you're actually going to site and doing assessments of your infrastructure, and you're out there with either your own staff or hiring qualified experts to take a look at the condition of assets, and that's feeding into your database. You're using that information for prioritizing where to spend, you know, funds every year, and you're becoming mature with as an asset manager. We do this all the time to all types of assets. These are examples of buildings. So you have, you know, portfolio of buildings. You know what outstanding maintenance is needed with them. What is the purpose or the long-term plan with that building? These are questions you should have answers to, and you get them by um, creating this as a topic of what you manage, and doing assessments of the infrastructure that so that you have this information that, you know, okay, there's $80,000 of deferred maintenance. We're going to be putting this much aside next year to close that gap. Like this is all stuff within the realm of possibility, and maybe in the scope of your job, and this is a very important aspect of doing asset management. And then it goes into maintenance renewal programs. So condition assessments feed into the maintenance renewal programs, and it's cyclical. It keeps going every year. You know, we definitely would suggest to have you know, like certain inspections done every year. That's feeding into the database, and that's feeding into next year's maintenance, and that's just an ongoing process. To recap, phase three, life cycle management, budgeting process, condition assessments, and maintenance and renewal programs. Here's an example of how we do this this is an example from one of our municipal teams that we've like I mentioned, we redrawn up the budgeting process because it just wasn't working. It wasn't being done right. So we looked at for like over the course of 12 months, like how are you actioning out asset management at your organization, and which month are you doing what, right? So we looked at like the condition assessments happening from these certain month periods, and then overlapping, you know, you're doing last year's, you know, maintenance and renewals that came in from last year's data while you're collecting data for next year's maintenance and renewals, and then you're prioritizing that data. And step three I'm looking at here, where you're going through your budget, you're preparing for your budgeting phase. So you're getting your priority list ready, and then you're going into budgeting and you're getting it approved, and you're actioning it out for the next year, and you've drawn up the annual process like this. This map here shows the actioning out, the implementing of the roadmap, not the planning, but the implementing of it, where, you know, you go from phase one to the end of phase three. You know, you can do a lot of that heavy lifting in phase one and two over the next, 12 to 24 months. I suggest 18 months on here. You can make a lot of good progress in that area, and then the ongoing cyclical work of inspections and maintenance every year. Some must-haves: you need a true asset management champion to lead this. You need an internal asset management champion to lead this. This won't happen without that individual, and then that you need a team surrounding them, a small team at least, to get this moving. And then you got to treat asset management like project management. Like you have to have processes and tasks and assigned responsibilities and schedules, and things will fall apart pretty quick if you don't have any accountability tools. Final thoughts, and then we'll go to Kevin for a couple questions, is start now. This is the tree example. You know, best time to plant it 20 years ago, second best times today. Like, start now. Start where you are with what you have, and, you know, with the staff you have. Don't wait till a person is hired in 3 months. We're going to start. Like, Start now with what you have. Focus on progress over perfection, right? This is the real world. It's messy. It's not perfect. It's not never going to be. Focus on progress over perfection. Action always wins over analysis. Asset management's a journey, not a destination. It's never done. And yeah, what you're doing, you're giving to the next generation. You have a stewardship responsibility. Improve everything you touch. Let's make it better for the next generation. Yeah, contact ASI Engineering. We can always support you on your specific roadmap. We can do a free one-on-one consultation where we talk about your assets, your goals, things like that, and I can help you at least from a 1 hour free consultation on how to build your own roadmap. Okay. Thanks everybody very much. Kevin's going to come back on with a couple quick questions, then we'll let you go.
Thanks, Aaron. Really appreciate it. Does anybody have any questions that they'd like to just type into the chat here quick? Doesn't look like we really have any questions. Again, thank you everybody for joining. Greatly appreciated. Please feel free to reach out to Darren or myself, and would love to continue the conversation and help you guys out. Yeah.
Good. Thanks, everyone. Stay tuned. Our fall webinar will be coming out, being planned over the next 1 to 2 months, and we'll be scheduling it for September at some point. So thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Have a great day, everybody.